The newly elected state's attorney is playing politics, just like Trump. You get what you voted for.
Hey, I hope you guys are having a good day. If you want to become a venter, hit subscribe and hit the thumbs up button. Let's go for a walk together. Guys, I am always, and I mean always, talking shit when it comes to blue cities, but there's two blue cities that I actually want to give real good props to today. The first one is Baltimore. Guys, Baltimore in the first 6 months of 2025 has had the lowest unaliving rate that they've had in 50 years. The last year that they had that was lower, 1977. And if you take that year out of the equation, it goes back 60 years. So whatever you guys are doing in Baltimore, keep it going. They have 68 through June. Last year at this time, they had 88. And basically, it's a 40% drop over what they normally average at this point in the year. Now, some people believe it's the new mayor they have, but I want you to hear a couple of these things. Non-fatal shootings is down 20%. Why is that important? Because this shows that across the board, they can't have as many homicides because even the non-fatal shootings are down. In other words, guys, it's not an anomaly. Carjackings, robberies, assaults, burglaries, all down across the board. Their previous state's attorney, her name was Marilyn Mosby. She did not prosecute low-level crimes, nor did she prosecute drug possession. The new state's attorney, Ivan Bates, he came in and he promised,
if you're a felon and you want to carry an illegal gun, we're going to invoke mandatory minimums. We're going to be very, very tough on illegal handguns. People will go to jail.
Before the numbers officially came out, Marilyn Mosby basically compared Ivan to Donald Trump and basically said his policies are doing exactly what Trump's did.
The newly elected state's attorney is playing politics, just like Trump. You get what you voted for. And so that's who he is. He's showing to be who he's always been.
But the reality is they brought the murder rate down to the lowest it's been in 50 years. And I think that deserves an applause. When the state's prosecuting attorney, Ivan Bates, took over for Marilyn Mosby, they had 8 consecutive years of at least 300 unalivings. Now they're on pace to finish this year with around 135. As a matter of fact, in the month of April, guys, they only had 5. That was the lowest in recorded history for Baltimore City. Again, I think that's awesome. Some people also credit the mayor, Brandon Scott, but the point is, Baltimore is going in the right direction. I have another story that I think is even better, and then we'll get back to this Baltimore one. So in 1993, East Palo Alto in California, it actually was considered the murder capital of the world. East Palo Alto had 42 unalivings for a population that was just in the area of 24,000 people. All of a sudden, they started attacking things on all heads. They increased police presence. The nonprofits came in. The faith-based groups got to work. A neighborhood watch group called Just Us would actually walk the neighborhood streets and would write down the license plates of cars buying drugs. Then check this out, the police would work as a team with these folks and would actually write those people that own those cars stating, hey, your vehicle has been spotted in a high crime, high drug neighborhood. And think about this, if you're all of a sudden a person going into these shady neighborhoods to buy drugs, and all of a sudden you get a letter from the police department like that, well, I don't know about you, but that would make me think twice about my future drug use, and evidently it did. So check this out, between the years 2000 and 2023, this once former murder capital of the world, all of a sudden they dropped their average to just 7. Now, I don't know about you, but for 24,000 people, even 7 is too much. But in 2023, they actually had 0. What this tells me is that when you increase the police presence, when you get the faith-based groups and the nonprofits working together, when you can get neighborhood watch groups up, when you can get all of those components working together with law enforcement, you can actually change things. So imagine you live in this little area in the San Francisco Peninsula. There's 24,000 people, and 42 people lose their life every year, or at least in that particular year. And all of a sudden since then, you don't get hardly any murders out of that area at all. I think that's awesome. Tell you what's not awesome is this heat. Oh my God, guys, I bought my daughter a pair of these shoes. You guys might have heard of them. I think they're called On Cloud. Anyway, they basically look like shoes that have holes through the bottom of the sole. And these holes, when you're stepping, equate this, they kind of create this cloud-like feeling where it feels like you're walking on springs or on clouds. And I got myself a pair a couple weeks back, and I just absolutely love them. And so I told my daughter, come down, meet me at the mall. I'd like to get you a pair of these shoes. And so they have like the $150 version, they have the $170, right, and the $189, and it goes up and it goes down, right? But she ends up picking these ones that after tax, damn near $200. And it's like, well, Jesse, you asked her if she wanted a pair, right? So they are pricey, but if you haven't tried on a pair, go down to Dick's or go down to Macy's, try on a pair. They feel like you're walking on clouds. They're probably gonna be the next big thing if they aren't already, because I see people wearing them all the time. You know, it's funny, you never really realize the birth of a Nike or the birth of a Reebok, right? Now, I know there's some people that were around in the 70s saying, no, I saw the birth of Nike, right? Well, this is the birth of On Cloud. It's been around for a handful of years from what I understand, and people absolutely love their shoes. And the reason you know they do is because they're not necessarily the coolest looking, but they're just so damn comfortable. People pay top dollar for them. There's another company called Skechers, and I don't know if you guys knew this or not, but Skechers, I guess, over the last handful of years, has made a living in copying the shoes from other companies. So they have kind of a Skechers version of the On Cloud, but I tried on both. I think the On Clouds are still more comfortable, but if you want a cheaper version, look at the Skechers. Again, just look for the shoes that have holes going through the soles like this. Think about this. The Good News Network does a lot of stories on Baltimore. We heard about that one creature in the Baltimore harbor that eats up trash, right? It's like a little boat that floats around sucking up trash, right? We also heard about a young lady that has like a mobile library that she takes through the neighborhoods out there in Baltimore, because some of the neighborhoods are like library book deserts. And they basically focus on positive stories. Wouldn't it be crazy if we found out that Baltimore's real secret weapon against crime and all the negativity associated with it? Wouldn't it be crazy if you found out because the people there actually want change and they want to start going down a positive pathway in life? They want to start making sure their kids are educated. Now, does this stuff happen overnight? No. But imagine if they can get to the point like East Palo Alto, where all of a sudden one day in the future, maybe they have 5 or less murders per year. I know that's a lofty dream, But the first thing that happens is all of a sudden, people want to move into the neighborhood. In 2022, the population was going down and bottomed out at about 570,000. That's about the same number of people that live there currently. But again, the murder rate dropped significantly. Now, again, this is short term, but if we can keep this going long term, I think it really gives us a blueprint for how we can improve cities that are struggling all around the country. Jesus, Jesse, you sound kind of positive today. Sometimes things like the heat in Arizona can get you irritable. And when you're irritable, sometimes you think about things with doom and gloom, right? But sometimes you hear good news, and again, we hear good news a lot from our friends at the Good News Network. When you hear good news, it puts you in a better state of mind. It makes you think about positive things instead of negative. So again, if you're one of these people that finds yourself being negative, take a look at some of the stories on the Good News Network. They really do cheer you up. Edmondson _Avenue says it wasn't him, referring to Ivan, the state's prosecuting attorney. It wasn't him. It was the Bruin ruling on carry permits in June of 2023. So this is an excellent comment. Guys, I haven't looked up Bruin yet, but I plan on doing it when I get home. And if so, I'm going to put a little note here on the screen, right? Or right here. But if this is true, that in June of 2023, the Bruin ruling enabled them to start concealed carry permits in Baltimore. So now when you go to rob somebody, for all you know, they could be carrying a weapon lawfully and legally. I think that does make people think twice. So if I find out, and again, I don't know about this, I'm going to read about it when I get home, but if I find out that all of a sudden a good percentage of the citizens there are actually using the concealed carry permit and arming themselves, well, what does that tell us about crime then? Wouldn't that be interesting, guys? All of a sudden you have all these people, from the mayor, I'm sure the governor, right, the state's attorney, right? All these people want to take credit. What if it's simply just the law allowing people to carry a weapon that's making all the difference in the world? But you want to know what the truth is? The truth is it's a little bit of everything. The last thing you want is somebody like Marilyn Mosby that's just going to let bad people do what they want to do with no repercussions. So you've got that changed by going with this new state's attorney, Ivan. You got this new mayor. He's got shit going in the right direction. Even if it isn't because of him, he'd be a fool not to want to keep it going. And if he keeps it going, it makes him look like America's mayor. He might have future aspirations to run for presidency. And if he does, he'll be able to be that Democrat that actually is against crime, like I was describing the last couple days. What do you mean, Jesse? What I mean is Democrats don't need their own Joe Rogan. They need somebody that's going to be against crime, and it might come from Baltimore. And Angel Shallow 06 says, less crime? Question mark, question mark, question mark. So whenever crime numbers are down or a little weird, and there's new administration in power, there's probably also going to be people that wonder if the numbers are not so real. I don't know what to think of when I hear that comment, but I know one thing. There's evidently at least a couple people that don't believe anything has changed in Baltimore. If you happen to live in Baltimore, and I know the odds are probably low, but if you do, and you can let us know your thoughts, do you think crime is the same? Do you feel like it has gotten better? Or do you feel like it's just as bad as it's always been? Brian 395 says, from what I've seen, it's steadily increased, along with juvenile crime and drug use. So again, you can almost hear the music go, bum, bum, bum. There's always going to be people that say bullshit on something. That's the problem, again, with the polarized group of people that we are here in America. You're going to have people that say, hey, we're going in the right direction because we made change. And then there's going to be some people that say, you know what? You just brought a Donald Trump type person into power. You're going to get what you voted for. Well, here's the problem with that. If getting what you voted for means lower crime and you guys are able to keep it up, don't let anybody tell you any different, because if you guys go back to people like Marilyn Mosby, it sounds like you're going to go back to 300 unalivings a year. I think 135 sounds a heck of a lot better. And the mayor wants to work on it and get it even lower. Maybe next April, instead of 5, you can get that down to 0. And again, these are lofty goals, but think about what happens, Baltimore, if those numbers do go down. Property values immediately go up. It's almost like giving everybody a raise without affecting anybody negatively, right? If you're thinking about moving into a neighborhood, the prices are affordable, the crime rate is low, you're going to give yourself the green light to move there. Guess what? So are businesses. Hey, did you guys hear Baltimore went from 300 unalivings down to 0? Let's open up some office space down there, and let's take advantage of the people that live there and get them employed. I mean, take advantage in a good way, that there's good people there. Because there are good people there. You guys do care. All of my stories from the Good News Network are based in Baltimore. Baltimore is one of those cities that I always thought was cursed, but I was wrong. People can be wrong. The main thing is when you're wrong, you want to be one of these people that can say, you know what, my bad. That's what makes the world tough. Sometimes people know they're in the wrong, but they don't want to come around and apologize. To Baltimore, we're taking you off the cursed list. You've got a really bright future. And to East Palo Alto, you've got an awesome future. Keep it going. Now what we need to do is we need to have people put some prayers together. Let's pray that other cities like Chicago can maybe copy these same models. When all of a sudden people don't pass away at the hands of others, all of a sudden it gives them hope. And anybody that has hope and a little good momentum on their side is gonna be unstoppable. And you know what, Sean, Mala, Carla, that's why we always say the walk must go on. The best way to get your own personal momentum going is to be able to dive into your think tank, lose weight, and uplift your mood in one shot. And the best way to do that? With a daily walk. The walk must go on. I'll see you tomorrow.